Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Lined up this week, but I'm here to tell you that, yo, you can do it.
It's a very present help, helping us.
He will direct your path.
And there you go.
I'm going to be very transparent in this episode. I think that I potentially can say some things that may not sound super Christian to some people, but I believe it's all in line with the Bible. But yeah, you're going to hear me say some things that, you know, are my opinion. I will make sure that you know that it's my opinion. Then I'm also going to say some things that are biblical, just because I feel like all of us are searching for answers right now. All of us are searching for what it's going to take for Black people in the United States and furthermore in the entire world to stop being hated so much. What is it going to take? We've marched, we've done everything. We took a knee too. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people have a problem with the looting. A lot of people have a problem with the rioting. We took a knee. They didn't like that either. So what is it going to take? What in history has Black people done? Have Black people done? African people, African American people done to deserve just the anti-Blackness that we've seen centuries upon centuries upon centuries? It didn't just start with Trayvon Martin. It didn't just start with Rodney King. It didn't just start with Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement. It didn't just start with Jim Crow. It didn't just start with slavery. Anti-Blackness being a thing for the world, time and time and time again. I'll be honest with you, I've been in a funk mentally ever since this happened. Because it's one thing to you hear about another Black man being killed by the police, but it's just like this one, I feel like, there's been many, many times like this has happened, but this one is just like, he met all the criteria, unarmed, handcuffed, all of that stuff, didn't even do anything illegal, and it's just, he died. And it's on video. You can see the video of him dying. And I think that, the first things first is when bad things happen, we always want to question why in the world will God allow this to happen? And, I talked about why does God allow suffering? Why does God allow chastisement in our lives last episode? But I feel like this is in an entirely different realm. I'm happy that I recorded that episode before all this happened, because I want people to be able to look at my past episode and realize that framework doesn't really work for what people are going through right now. That mindset where, it's just chastisement and God's readying me. I don't think that that's a just explanation for what's going on right now. Maybe it could be for someone in the world, but I don't think that's a just explanation, and what we ought to learn from what's going on right now, that this is the chastisement of God, and that's going to make us all better in the end, because at the end of the day, there's somebody that's dead. I'm not going to say that. And I'm going to go deeper into this. A lot of us are questioning God. This 2020, not 30 days ago, we're talking about Ahmaud Arbery, and now we're talking about George Floyd. On top of that, we're talking about Breonna Taylor. And before that, it's the dozens of names that we know of that have been killed unjustly by the police, the same people that's supposed to protect us. So why did this happen? And I'm going to give you a very clear, concise answer. And this is my answer. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why this happened. Maybe, you're expecting me to come up with some wise explanation, and God spoke to me this week, and this is why this happened. And I know a lot of pastors do that, but I don't have an answer for you as to why this happened. I do not have an answer for you as to why God allowed this to happen. I don't know. But it did. And I wanted to spend the majority of this episode, well, kind of half and half. First thing I wanted to do was address Christians. And then I'm going to, come back to the state of the black community right now. And I wanted to talk about that. But the first thing I wanted to do was, because we've all seen it on Twitter. We've seen it in the media everywhere. We're talking about how people are mad at the protesters because they don't believe that the protesters are protesting in the right way. Stop the looting. Because the president says when the looting starts, shooting starts. The president of the United States says when the looting starts, the shooting starts. People are infuriated at the reactions of the black community and our allies. First things first, I want to say that I'm one of those people that believe that there's a difference between protesters and profiteers, where a lot of these people who are out here looting may not very well be protesters. I'm not on the street, so I don't know exactly what's going on, but to automatically conclude that these protesters are the same people that are looting, do recognize that some people see opportunities and they recognize that, hey, those protesters in the street, a lot of police are, going to be focusing on that. I can go ahead and get away with this. But hey, that's just me talking. That's just me, my opinion. I told you I was gonna let you know when my opinion was getting into this. But let's talk about that. I feel like, first and foremost, Christians, I've kind of felt upset when we talk about the church of today. I'm not talking about the Christian doctrine. I'm not talking about Christians in a very, broad sense. I'm talking about Christians in America today. I've yet to see a coalition, a group, a forefront, a front of Christians in the front lines, in the media, whatever it might be, coming together and recognizing that, hey, this is bad, and fighting against the oppression of African Americans. I've yet to see the Christian church gather around like we did in the 60s. And it's been upsetting to me because, you have your Christians that are not black, who are supposed to have this same compassion on other human beings like everyone else, or like a Christian's supposed to, but it's as if that compassion reaches only as far, but not far enough to the black community. If you are a Christian, you should be just as upset at the injustices that are going on as a black community. You should be. Because I'm hearing a lot of don't loot, don't riot, don't do this, don't do that. Or, this is the part that shakes me to my core. Less than 24 hours after everything happens, I'm seeing people who claim to be Christian on Twitter or whatever it might be saying, forgive the cop. Don't hate him, forgive him, and pray for him. And I'm just like, that's the response. That's what we as a people, we as Christians came up with. Hey, don't hate the cop, pray for him. That was how we comforted the oppressed. Hey, pray for your oppressor. Don't hate him. Don't dislike him. Pray for him. Less than 24 hours, I was seeing messages like that. That's the Christian response, and it infuriates me. And then, of course, we get a whole bunch of backlash when it comes to like, oh, well, that's the white man's religion, which is just ignorant. It's crazy. It's stupid, right? But it's like, these are people, the black community is hurt right now. Black community is grieving right now, mourning right now. And I just feel like, although, let me just back up real quick. Let me back up real quick. I'm going to say it. Looting is bad. Yeah. And forgiving is very healthy. God asks us to forgive. It's very healthy. Good. All right. So I did it. I did the Christian thing. I did the religious thing. We got it, right? We all understand? Cool. Let's move on. It upsets me that there's a lot of people who are more concerned with the black community's reaction to injustices than the actual injustice itself. And I had posted this video of Denzel Washington on the Instagram page, And he was just saying, like, it was like a parable, like a parable, LOL, like a parable between like a sheep and a wolf. And like when the wolf attacks the sheep, you can't get mad at the sheep's reaction. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you should go to the source. What's the source of all of this rioting? What's the source of all of this looting? Did black people just wake up one day and say, hey, bro, let's make a Facebook group and let's go out and loot Target. Let's go out and do it. Why is everything happening? Because there was an injustice. And let me tell you that, you know, you can say, oh, you can do it peacefully. But what happened when we did it peacefully? What happened when Colin Kaepernick took a knee? They were called sons of bitches. They were disrespecting the veterans, whatever it might be. And it's funny because, like, man, let me tell you, black people on Twitter have the best comebacks. And I saw this one tweet that was saying, like, you know, some white people forget that they started an entire revolution because they didn't want to pay shipping and handling on tea. I thought that was hilarious. But it's people that are more upset at the black community's reaction or protesters' reactions than the actual injustice. And let me tell you something. And, you know, I don't mean to just rant on here because I really want people to understand what I'm trying to say. Please send this episode to a friend that you feel is being complicit. Send this episode to a friend that says that they're a Christian. Do understand this. Yes, like I said, looting is bad. Yes, you always want to try and forgive as best you can because it's healthy for you. And that's what God asks us to do. But do understand that when you say such things in such a time as this, it is dismissive, and it is insensitive. There's something called reading the room. For example, it's a lot of people, you know, that they took a great picture right now and they want to use their social media to post a selfie of themselves, right? There's nothing wrong with posting a selfie of yourself right now, right? I mean, you want to post a selfie of yourself, but there are going to be some people who are hurt right now who feel like you should use your platform to talk about George Floyd and injustices and use your voice rather than post a selfie right now. Now, although you're not necessarily wrong for posting a selfie right now, but do recognize that it can come across as insensitive to what's going on right now because we're calling on people to use their platform. It's the same thing. Although, yeah, if you're quoting the Bible, then you're technically right as a Christian, what we believe, but you do have to recognize that sometimes you got to read the room. Sometimes you have to recognize that, hey, people are hurting right now. And the Bible says we ought to mourn with the people who are mourning. Grieve with the people who are grieving. It's our duty. It's our job. And just in case there's some Christians who feel like, because I feel like, you know, there's the people who are neutral, or there's the people who don't want to say anything because they feel like it's not their business. I'm about to make it every Christian's business to stand up and say something about the injustice against black people with this verse. And this is Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17. Learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead the widow's cause. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17. Seek justice, correct oppression. Now, I'll be honest with you. What exactly that might mean practically, I'm not completely sure. Do I think that this means go looting? I don't think that means go looting. I don't think that necessarily means rioting. I don't know. And maybe I'm ignorant at that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'll come up with a better answer next week. But as a Christian, it is our duty, our role to correct oppression and to seek justice. So here's the thing. This is how you can show love. Because remember, you know, and this is another thing I kind of want to like get at. A lot of us, we see Christianity in this nation, we see Christianity in this nation and we see it as the white evangelicals and Trump supporters. I want you to recognize something, that as much as people can say that they're Christians, there's even racism in the church. Whoa. Churchboy confessions, coming out with confessions. There's racism that is in the church. There are people who go to church every day that are racist. that are racist. They do not like to see you. They do not like to be around you. Luckily, I haven't witnessed it, at least to my knowledge. I've been going to Nigerian and black churches my entire life. But there are people who will talk about God, talk about Christianity, and also try and kill a black man, a black woman. I mean, look at what happened in the 60s. I talked about it before. They'd bomb our churches. Mind you, these are the same people that's trying to tell us all this stuff about the Bible, forcing us into missionaries and all that different stuff. Africans, like back in the day, slaves, forcing Christianity on us, right? And then when we actually are enlightened to the actual truth of Jesus Christ, they go ahead and they start bombing our churches. These are supposed to be other Christians, right? Bombing the black Christians' churches. So Christians around the world, let me get back to my point. You have a duty to help. You have a duty to say something. You have a duty to speak up. People need your help. Every human being on this planet has influence. Not all the same amount, but every human being has influence, whether it's a lot or it's a little. Maybe it's over one person, and maybe that's going to be all the difference. Christians, you cannot sit idly by, because I'll tell you, man, they're going to bash you. They're going to call it's the white man's religion. They're going to get on all of that. But now more than ever, man, people need faith, because there's a lot of hopelessness going around. Now more than ever, people need direction. People need to know that, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, there can be an end to this. When I was thinking about this message and what I wanted to say, I didn't know. But then I thought back to the story of Gideon, who I've talked about, you know. And I wanted to read from Judges chapter 6. This is when the angel of the Lord called Gideon, because at this time, the children of Israel were under the oppression of the Midianites. Oppression didn't just start, you know, in the past 300 years or 400 years. You got to talk about the children of Israel being slaves in Egypt for over 400 years. You have to talk about the children of Israel being oppressed by the Midianites. You got to talk about all these, like, oppression has been something that has always existed on this planet. And you see here in Judges chapter 6, I believe starting at verse 11, it says, the angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash, the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in the winepress to keep it from the Midianites, the oppressors. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. And this is Gideon's response. I want you to really listen to Gideon's response. He said, pardon me, Lord. Gideon replied, but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, did not the Lord bring us out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of the Midian. Doesn't that sound a lot like the frustration that we have as a black community today? If God is supposed to be God and he's supposed to be good and he's supposed to be loving, why in the world has all of this happened to us? Slavery, Jim Crow era, civil rights era, police brutality, mass incarceration, lack of representation for black women everywhere, the degradation of black women. Why has all this befallen us if God is supposed to exist? And where are those miracles? Where are those miracles? We ask that all. Where are the miracles? Where is God? Show us a sign. What's happening? Where's everything that everybody was talking about, that grandma was talking about when she dragged me to church when I was 3 years old? Where's the miracles at? Where's the Holy Spirit? Where's the Holy Ghost? Why is everything happening? Where's God? Gideon said, God's forsaken us. For us, it's God's not real. God can't be real. That's the frustration we have. It's not new. Your mindset right now, it's not new. Gideon had that mindset. We're talking thousands, over thousands and thousands of years ago. Gideon had that same mindset because he was being oppressed. His people were being oppressed. Mind you, he got caught trying to hide things from the oppressor. He was in submission. Israel was in submission to the oppressor. And he says, God has forsaken us. There are no miracles now. Look at what's happened to us. There's no way that God is with us. That might be how you feel. What was God's response? The Lord turned to him in verse 14. The Lord turned to him and said, go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you? Doesn't sound like an answer to his question now, does it? Gideon asks, if you're real, then why has all this happened? Give me an answer as to why this happened, why that happened, why this is happening. Where's all the miracles? Why did George Floyd die? Why was he killed? Why was Breonna Taylor killed? Why was Ahmaud Arbery killed? And the dozens of African Americans killed by the police. Why does all this happen? God didn't even give him an answer. God didn't delineate, well, this happened because I want to do this and this and this, and then you're supposed to learn from this and that and this. God did not give an answer. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why this has happened. I don't have an answer for you. But all I do know is what God said after that. He said, am I not sending you? Because then Gideon would be blessed with the Spirit of God, and that he'd go out, and with 300 men, he would defeat the Midianites, and he'd be victorious for the children of Israel, crushing the oppressor and their oppression. Am I not sending you? I want you to know that God regards everything, considers everything that's going on right now. He sees it. He acknowledges it. The loving God, yeah, he sees it and he acknowledges it. That may sound so messed up. So messed up. Because we don't know why, and this thing hurts. But he sees it. And he regards it. And a lot of us may be asking, well, how is this going to stop? When is this going to stop? What's going on, God? And maybe it's some of us that God's saying, have I not sent you? I mean, we see that the black community definitely needs a leader right now. What if it's you? What if it's me? What are you going to do to let your voice be heard? What are you going to do? What part are you going to play? What's your position? What's your role? What can you do best to make sure that you are influencing policy, that you are influencing action being taken, justice being served?